Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome to the FAI Cup show. We're going to talk about a couple of games today, myself and JP, focusing on 5 games, but obviously mention results in the other games. Athlone Town had a 1-0 win against Ring-Mahon Rangers in Athlone Town Stadium. Not bad for Ring-Mahon, to be fair. They did all right. Bohemians won, Shamrock Rovers nails one of the games we're going to talk about. Carrigaline United won, Wilton United 2. So obviously a non-league team in the next phase. Cobh Ramblers nil, Kerry FC 2. We're going to talk about that a bit as well, particularly focusing on Kerry. Kind of an excuse to talk about them, JP, to be honest. The Loud Derby, Drogheda got a bit of revenge when they beat Dundalk by 2-1 at Weavers Park. Galway United had a massive win against, obviously, Longford Town, who are bottom of the First Division, 6-0. Treacy got away with one. They drew 0-0 against Kilbarrack United. They won in penalties. Kilbarrack United actually missed a great chance in the 90th minute there to actually put them through, but Treaty got away with that one. Waterford FC beat Cockhill Celtic 2-1. The junior champions doing well in that one. Waterford made a lot of changes, which was a bit risky in my opinion, and they went one down, but they came back to win a 2-1. They were all on Friday. On the Saturday, Pike Rovers beat Middleton 3-1. Cork City beat Finn Harps 1-0 again after beating them in the league 1-0 the previous week. We'll talk about that one too. And then on Sunday, Ballyfermot United, another non-league side, are through after beating Leeds 3-1. Not Leeds United, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. I'm slagging me dad
AFC.
about that, JP, because he's a Leeds United fan and says, "You lost to Ballyfermot 3-1." He went, "What?" No idea what's going on. But Bray Wanderers, sorry, Gorey Rangers nil, UCD 4. Bray Wanderers nil, Shelburne 1. Duff wasn't very happy with the performance at all there, was he? But they're through to the next round. Wayside Celtic 1, Wexford FC 3. Derry City 3, St Patrick's Day nil. That's another game we're going to talk about. And Sligo Rovers 3, Cobh Wanderers nil. I suppose we start off with the Dublin Derby at Dalymount Park on Friday, where Dale Rooney's penalty was enough, JP, to give Bows a 1-0 win over Shamrock Rovers. I was at this one. And, you know, Shamrock Rovers' point of view, first of all, very disappointing because, you know what I mean, it looks like in terms of domestically, maybe I'm speaking too soon here, but domestically it looks like no trophy this season. Obviously, for Shamrock Rovers, they made a lot of changes. They look like they had one eye in the game against Sparta Prague, which in itself is a very difficult game. But Bowes took full advantage, in my opinion, and played really well. Seeing Devoy and Tierney in the middle of the park, that transforms their midfield, JP, really. I know Billy gave Devoy man the match. I argued the point was Tierney, but it was overruled. But as a combo, they were both very, very good. Leigh Kavanagh, I thought, looked good at centre back as well. He looked like an upgrade in the players they have. And they put in a very good performance, a real fighting performance. Now, you could argue you see that in Bowes games, Dublin derbies anyway, a lot of the time. But brilliant for them to get through. And with Pats out of the way, maybe they'll be confident that they can get a cup win this year, JP.
Well, any team that's left in it will have looked and seen the draw from the first round, and they would have seen it. One of Derry, Pats, Bows, and Rovers were going to go early on. There was obviously the possibility that Shelburne may have been banana skin away at Bray. Dundalk are gone as well from the Premier Division, so there was at least going to be 3 Premier Division teams going after the first round. And um, uh, Bows will potentially think they have a chance, and why not? Um, a good win for them, probably the toughest draw that they probably could have hoped for. Um, Shamrock Rovers at home, but as you say, they probably have one eye on Sparta Prague, which is
Hmm.
when our team's going to Europe, Keith, and it's in the middle of the FAI Cup run as well. Europe is more lucrative when it comes to prize money. Yeah, you want to end the season with a trophy, but after the year that Shamrock Rovers had last year in Europe, where they lost all 4 games and went out of Europe with a whimper, they'll not want to do it this year. They obviously, yeah, I think they've got at least another 4 games, haven't they, in Europe this year? So,
Yeah.
um, including these 2 against Sparta Prague, another 2 after that potentially. So, Bo's a great one. We did say that when Reynolds came in that he was going to see what he had been dealt with, the hand that Divine dealt him. He was going to have a look at that and see how he can improve upon it. And the way to improve upon it is to bring back 2 of the ex players that did the business under Keith Long, and um from what you're telling me that they hit the ground running against Shamrock Rovers. I think Rovers missed a couple of chances, didn't they? That chance early on where they hit
The Cleary
Jack
chance
Byrne's
was a
free kick
great
goes all the way
chance.
through
Yeah.
and hits the post and then it comes out and then Dan Cleary heads it over the bar. If that goes in, it's potentially a different game. But we've seen that at the Brandywell yesterday where Pats had two really good chances at 0-0 and didn't take them. Um, so Bows will be delighted to get out of there. I think there's no question marks over the penalty. Rob Hennessy was right up in play and gave it straight away, and obviously his linesman was looking straight at it. So I'm sure if there was any issues there, he may have got involved. Bowes didn't, or Shamrock Rovers didn't. Lopez, I think, was more
I think it's accepted as well
annoyed at the
amongst
defense.
Rovers fans that they just never got into it. And Bowes, I've even seen Rovers fans say Bowes just simply deserved to win the game. They battled harder. They wanted
Yeah,
it more, if I'm honest, JP. Bowes.
yeah. For Bowes, it was probably the start of the season. They were probably targeting top four, and finding a route into Europe. As the season has gone on, this is their only route into Europe. And they what they didn't want to do was lose that at the first attempt, and they've got themselves into the last 16. So, well, tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see what it serves up. They'll obviously want to avoid probably the likes of Derry and Shelburne. They'll not want a tie like that. Considering what is potentially there. But look, Bowes, we trust that Reynolds would get it right. They get his own players in. It's too early to say yet how they can fare the rest of the season, but it's a good way to start by getting off a winning start in the cup.
Absolutely, yeah. Cobh Ramblers nil, Kerry FC 2 is one of the other games we want to talk about. Brosnan at 9, Keller with a penalty in 11 minutes to give Kerry a very good win in that Munster derby. And Ryan Keller is a player who has been on form for Kerry, to say the least, this season. He's 11 goals for the club this season, so he's flying. But the difference, I suppose, JP, between Kerry, only their second year, obviously, in playing League of Ireland football. The difference between this year and last year is huge. They got 10 points last year in the league, 36 games, 20 points after 24. Second bottom, clubs in front of them within touch and distance. Conor McCarthy, at the age of
Yeah.
26, has obviously gone in and, he's done a good job there. And it's all about steady progress for Kerry. And I've been quite impressed with him this season, actually. And there's been no hammerings. I'm pretty sure their worst defeat was 2-0. I don't think they've been beaten by more this season, so there's been nothing like that. But to say they're competing this season, like they seriously are competing this season, and that's a fantastic win for them, in my opinion, isn't it?
Yeah, well, when they came into the league, they were probably expecting they finished bottom. Um, Obviously, there's no division below, so they knew that they had that year. They bed themselves in, see what it was all about, then see what they needed. They'd be more competitive within the league. It's as you said, it's all about steady progress. Um, I think they were better than 10 points last year. I think there was a lot of games where they conceded late on. They felt Billy Dennehy felt a few decisions went against them. In crucial moments in games. Think was it 6 draws that they picked? Was it 10 draws they picked up last year? So a good one there. Um, down on a plastic pitch as well, as we know Kerry are suited to. Cobh are probably just getting used to theirs.
Yeah, yeah, actually,
Um,
yeah.
what I noticed there watching the highlights of the game was we talk about Derry's pitch and Dundalk's pitch being awful. What I noticed in the highlights was every time the ball bounced, the black beads bounced with it. Now I don't know if that's supposed to be, but something tells me it's not.
Yeah,
For
I
a newly
noticed that
laid
as
pitch
well.
as well.
And JP, that's the first time I
For
noticed it watching them play as well,
yeah,
which is strange.
for a newly laid pitch, it's
Mm,
probably not good. But look, a great win for Kerry. They'll be hoping maybe for a home draw in the next round. Um, Potentially maybe against a Premier Division team. They try and get a big gate in the door. Maybe they want a home draw. Maybe try and get themselves in the quarter final. We've seen a couple of years ago where Treaty made it all the way to semi final and drew Derry away. So potentially maybe Kerry be looking at maybe an away draw against maybe one of the bigger teams. That way
Yeah.
they still get they get like so. Um, yeah, great they see. As I said, the more Kerry one matches, the more it builds up the interest in them, and the more that they can maybe become competitive with it within the league. And I know that the team was set up. They provide a pathway in the senior football within Kerry, not they grow the players from their 6 until they're 18 and then pass them off to other counties or teams or countries. They develop them further, and it's fantastic. They see.
Yeah, they were actually knocked out by Drogheda at home 1-0 last year as well, so they wouldn't mind a tie similar to that at home. But just on Cobh quickly, O'Brien Whitmarsh sent off for the 61 second yellow. Look, he was walking away before the referee even gave the second yellow, so I don't think there's too many complaints on that one. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
what?
he knew straight away, didn't he?
I think he was nearly gone, wasn't he? Actually, it was a
He
bit.
knew straight away. He just did.
He just said, I'm not even
Yeah,
going to wait. There's no
the
point
referee
arguing
couldn't
here.
even. He was walking. Yeah.
It's probably the right thing to do in that
Oh,
situation.
exactly. Once you seen the referee,
Yeah, to be honest, he knew. But
yeah,
Loud Derby, revenge for Drogheda United, 2-1 win over Dundalk. And I would suggest Bolger after 16, his debut, Davis 74, Faulkner 90th minute. And I would suggest that, just the win. I know it's in the cup, it's not in the league, and people will say, look, they'd rather take the league last week, but that it hasn't worked that way. They needed a win, didn't they? Just for a bit of confidence, even going into the league, and a couple of players coming in. I know Bolger played centre back, apparently played very, very well. Shane Farrell was excellent in the game, told by Drogheda fans he was really, really good in the game. And the player, if he gets his confidence back, he's a serious player for them, I think. But the first goal Bulger scores, Goddard made a complete hash of that, didn't he? To be fair, I don't know. He tries to, I think he gets caught in two minds where he tries to catch it and knock it over the bar. And he ends up half catching it, goes into the net. It's one of them, isn't it? I think
he's tried to catch it with one hand. It's dropped onto the other hand and ended up in the back of the net. Like
it just looks
so, it has.
awful, doesn't it?
Really. Oh, poor goalkeeping.
Mm.
I think for Drogheda it was a much needed one. Gets them back on the winning trail, as they say. Sometimes when you're in the midst of a relegation battle, you need something to distract you. And they still have this. They've that come August, they'll have the interest of the cup as well. They keep their minds off the battle with Dundalk at the bottom. Um, and if you pick up a win in the cup, it can give you confidence to go again in the league and keep winning. Um, really good one for them. Dundalk will be disappointed with the 2 goals they conceded. Drogheda will be disappointed with the goal they conceded, but Drogheda will be delighted that they conceded when they conceded, and not maybe 5 or 10 minutes earlier.
Mm.
But the first goal it was really poor goalkeeping. He's caught in two minds where they catch or punch and does neither. I think he kind of does a bit of both, and it ends up in his own net. Second one's really poor. It's a long ball that they allow to bounce.
Mm.
John Whitney, he looks like he heads it down for himself to clear. Maybe doesn't realise that the striker is right on top of him. Because otherwise he's probably trying to get a bit more on it.
He also looks like he
And
potentially is trying to hold them back in the hope that the
yeah,
keeper's going to come out, but you can't do that
yeah.
either. It's risky.
And when he realizes it's too late, and Davis just puts his toe to it and puts it past the keeper. But I think the Drogheda keeper came to no man's land.
Dennison, yeah.
For the Dundalk
Apparently, he had a
goals,
good
just
game,
again,
which
it's a punt
you
for.
don't see in the highlights, but apparently, apart from that, he had a decent game. But you're right, didn't he? Come out in no man's land. He stays in his line there. As a keeper, you shouldn't come for the ball unless you know that you're going to win the ball. But if he stays in his line, he probably saves that.
Not a ball that's coming 60 odd yards into the penalty box. Like, and fair play to Dundalk striker. He has seen it. He's just anticipated getting something on it and finding the back of the net with.
Yeah, so it's Dundalk will be disappointed because it kind of just highlights their inconsistencies. Obviously, a very good performance in the home win the previous week in the league. And then, like at the end of the day, they were 2-0 down, weren't they? Deep into stoppage time, so they were kind of comfortably beaten in the end. So against the same opposition, so it just highlights their inconsistencies. That will continue in the league for them as well. But I think sometimes when Dundalk fans think we can go on a bit of a run, and I know it's a different competition, but even so, you get a result like that, and it kind of knocks them back, and they're kind of thinking again, look, we're going to be in that dogfight till the end of the season, no matter what happens.
Yeah, they are. Like you say, they go out one week and pick up a really good one, and then the next week they go out and lose to the same opposition. Um, um, I think home advantage probably plays a big part in both those games. As I think over the course of the season, I think the games that they've had against one another has, I think, ended in home victories. I know three of them has anyway. Um, and for Dundalk, like it's all about the league now and concentrating and staying in the division. And holding Drogheda off. Um, I'd say that they picked up that one earlier or the week before, and the fans are thinking happy days if we can go and win next week. It potentially maybe ends Drogheda's season. Because maybe if Drogheda lose twice in a week, they Dundalk it rocks their confidence. But what this result will do is we'll get Drogheda's tails up and potentially put them right in the fight mix again because maybe they were a team that was on the floor and on the canvas and Dundalk were ready to land a knockout blow and they haven't and I'm sure John Daly now I think look he would have wanted to go through that tie. You don't want to lose derbies, especially in cup games. But just shows a cup is a one-off game, and if you're not at it, you're out of the competition. But what he will do now is he'll remain focused on the rest of the season and making sure that they get enough points. They avoid the automatic relegation, but he will also maybe try and target getting eighth. Um, they avoid relegation complete the relegation playoff as well, but that's going to be a tricky challenge for them because we know the quality of the teams that are above them, and they're potentially maybe going to put in a bit more consistency than what Dundalk are going to do. Um, yeah, look, they'll be disappointed. They will be, but they'll know that the biggest challenge for them this season is the biggest victory probably for them this season is staying in the Premier Division.
Absolutely, 100%. The same for Drogheda as well, I'd say there. But Cork City beat Finn Harps 1-0, as I said there in the intro, second week running. This time Dykesdale got the winner at Turner's Cross. And, Cork City is a club that we keep saying shouldn't be in the first division, but they've been in the first division quite a bit over the last number of years. And look, it's a good win for them. Finn Harps have improved the season under Murphy, to be fair, haven't they? 100%. They've improved the season. Still a lot of work to do for them. They're in the playoffs in the first division, in fairness to them, but they're not as easily beat this season as they were last season either. They got some bad hammerings last season, but Murphy, I think, is doing a pretty steady job at Finn Harps, to be fair. Cork City, like in the league, like they're 15 points ahead of Athlone. I don't think they've even hit top gear, to be honest. I don't think they have to. It's no surprise that they haven't brought in any new players. What's the point? Because you'd be fairly confident that you're going to go up, and you leave a bit of space for next season and bring in the right players, etc., etc. But another team that you never know could. I mean, I wouldn't fancy. I don't think too many teams have fancy going to Turner's Cross in the next round of the cup. Put it that way, it wouldn't be easy.
No, I think when Cork appointed Tim Clancy at the start of the season, it showed their intentions. It showed their intentions that it was basically to get back into the Premier Division, and they stay there basically, because you say the last three seasons it's been up, up, down, and now it's going to be up again. They're not going to throw away a 15-point lead. I mentioned there about Drogheda needing a distraction away from um the relegation battle, and for Cork to keep themselves on their toes at the top of First Division. Being in the cup will probably help, because they're going to be coming up potentially against opposition that um they're going to be stronger than in the First Division. It was nice that they got a home draw against a First Division team, a team that you'd have a lot of confidence in them beating. But what it did do was, I think, the Clancy that he changed it up a wee bit and give players minutes, etc. Um, I think it's important for Cork that they stay in the cup um, beyond round one, just to keep that wee bit of competitive edge amongst the squad.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and we'll see tomorrow who they get. But as you said, nobody will fancy going to Turner's Cross because with Galway and Waterford both earning promotion last year, it meant Cork going into the First Division are the only full-time team in it. And it's showing in the league table they're 15 points clear. They've signed the likes of Evan McLaughlin from Derry City. They've Barry Kofi. They managed to hang on to him, who was on loan from Celtic. Was it last year? I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
And they've managed to keep him. Like, so when it shows you their intention. You said there they haven't brought nobody in. Probably won't. Clancy will know what he'll need. For the first division. They weren't very competitive last year. I don't think when they were here. Well, they were because they finished second bottom, but they had UCD behind them.
There was also a
I
lot of
think there was a
messing,
gap,
wasn't there,
but
JP, with changes of management and directors of football behind the
yeah,
scenes, which didn't help their
they
cause.
didn't know whether they were coming and going. They didn't know who was the manager, who was assistant manager, who was upstairs, who was signing players. It was a total mess. The owner didn't come in till late towards the end of
Mm,
or sorry, towards the start of the Premier Division season.
mm.
So they signed a lot of players that were um
He's
on the
learned a
market
lot, I
from.
would suggest, probably the owner. I think he's learned a lot very
Oh
quickly.
yeah, yeah. Even though I think he was a Bray, wasn't he? Or he was
Mm,
a huge sponsor at Bray
yeah.
anyway. But I think this was the first proper um step into managing or running a full-time club. And he's not going to make the same mistakes when Cork get promoted this year. We say that they should be a team that should be in the Premier Division, but when you've
Mm.
got a 10-team Premier Division, you're always going to have one club in the first, at least one club in the first division that you think should be in the Premier Division. Um, and I don't know, does the FAI go down the route of trying to extend the Premier Division to 12 teams to make it a bit more competitive, or do you weaken the competitiveness of it? I don't know, because then whenever it's potentially keep going forward with the 10-team league, one goes down, they're going to run away with it the next week, the next year.
Mm.
That's the potential of the first division with a 10-team league, is the team that comes down is going to run away with it. Um, because we know that Drogheda or their manager's full time this year. They're they're part time, but they're potentially going to be going full time, aren't they, next year?
100%
Down,
gone full time, even if they go down, yeah. So
even
now
if they go
they're
down, so
suddenly going
there
to
you
be
go.
probably the favourites next year, if they go down.
Yeah, well, they're not down yet, but
No.
because they're at the bottom, that's why I'm talking about them. Because Dundalk, as we know, are already full time, and you'd imagine they probably would stay full time with because if Brian Ainge go in there and they're going to have a lot of investment. So one of them two teams, I think, will go down, and they're going to replace Cork. So it's make it even more difficult for the teams behind to gain that automatic promotion. They're going to have to go through the playoff again against a um a full time team. Yeah, it is doable. We've seen it in the past with Longford and UCD and stuff like that, winning one-off finals. But um. Look, a great win for Cork. Finn Harps, they'd have went down there with the ambition of staying in the cup a bit longer, but um, after last year, I think they finished third from bottom or something, didn't they? Last year, or was it
Second from
second
bottom
bottom?
in the end. I
Um,
think they were second from bottom in the end, JP,
I
yeah.
think it was second from bottom.
Yeah.
As you touched on earlier, they took a lot of hammerings, so they did. Um,
They tried to
they
change
took
a
a lot
lot
of
last
hammerings.
year
I
too
think
much, in my opinion, JP. They tried to change too much in
yeah,
the culture of
they
the
went
club.
to Waterford.
Mm,
They went to Waterford and they lost. I think they conceded seven twice down in Waterford,
mm.
at least seven twice.
Definitely once.
They took
100%.
they took they took a few hammerings somewhere else, um, some at home as well. So for them, it was just about steadying the ship, getting back to basics. I think what they did last year was they handed Dave Rogers far too much control. I think from the outside looking in,
Mm.
he seemed to have a lot of control of signings and um where to get them from. And I know at the start of the season, the chairman spoke about this season they were going back more local because they were paying a lot of money on rent
And they were
last year in
also, I
terms
think,
of
that they were
how.
going back to kind of some of the foundations of Finn Harps Football Club a little bit, weren't they? They kind of
Yeah,
went away from that too much, but there's a certain,
yeah, they did.
certain clubs have certain cultures, if you like. You know what I mean? And there's a bit more of that
Mm.
with Finn Harps this year, and certain things suit certain clubs.
I think it wasn't just last year where they went away from those traditions of staying local or whatever. think near the end of Ali Horgan's reign, they had kind of done that, but that was necessary to try and make them compete
Mm,
and stay in the
mm.
first division, or sorry,
And
the
Horgan
Premier
was a bit
Division.
more experienced and to know what he
Yeah,
needed to do, whereas
yeah,
Rodgers probably not.
yeah. Well, they needed to stay in the first division, and you weren't going to do it keeping everything local or as locally based as possible, especially in a part-time setup. But I think they were training 3, 4 nights a week, so it was almost um as much as our teams, but it's still they were players were going out during the day and doing the day's work. But I think what they used to do in the past was they used to have their nucleus of players and then maybe sign one or two on loan from Derry and maybe somewhere else Sligo. And they've gone back to doing that again, like they've signed Sean Patton on loan and they've had another couple of ex-Derry men come in and play for them, I think. So look, for them, it'll be about consolidating themselves this season in the first division. They'll be disappointed, obviously, they're out of the cup, but they'll see that having finished second bottom last year, that's unacceptable for Finn Harps. Um, and they'll want to be at least get into playoffs because if they're in the playoffs now at the minute, they'll want to stay there and build on it. And look, Darren Murphy is in his first year of management. Um,
He understands the
he's been
club,
a
though, doesn't he? You know, that kind of way.
he
Yeah.
understands he understands the area. Um, But he's been around full-time setups, Keith, in the Irish League with Linfield Crusaders and one hour, but he's been around experienced managers as well. So he knows what it takes to be competitive, and he'll know what he needs he'll probably by this stage know what he'll need for next year to go on to take the next step. So look, a good win for Cork. Disappointing for Harps, but I think they'll not be too disappointed that they're out of the cup because at this stage they probably are where they aim to be. They probably got as tough a draw as you could have done the leaders of the first division. So yeah, look, good win for Cork, and as you say, nobody will want to go to Turner's Cross in the next round.
No, absolutely not. Now on to Finn Harp's lovely neighbours. Derry City beat St Patrick's Athletic by 3 goals to 0 at the Brandywell. I suppose a bit of revenge for last year, JP. Mullen with two, Duffy with one in the game, all in the second half. And I suppose I'll give my Pat's perspective on this, and then I'll let you have the Derry perspective on this. From Pat's point of view, I would say in the first half they were okay. I thought Forrester in particular had a great chance. Mar pulls off a good save, but I think if Forrester hits it through the laces, that's the shot to take there. It's a bit of a side foot, isn't it? They moved the ball quite well. I thought Derry moved the
I
ball
think
quite
he's
well
trying
as
to
well.
control it because
Hmm?
it probably looked. I think he was trying to control the finish because I think it
Yeah.
looks like a volley, but it's potentially it
Mm,
looks like a volley with the legs, but you go for that and you get it all wrong. You sky it. So I
mm.
think he tried to just control it past Maher, but yeah, but no, it was a good save, but a big chance. There was the
No.
Mulroney chance before that as
Yeah,
well. What
Mulroney
free
kind of,
kick?
yeah, it was kind of like he wasn't sure what to do, though, wasn't he? He ended up trying to cross it, I think, to Gravossi in the end, which wasn't really on, in my
Conley got a
view.
good touch because Conley got a good touch because there was a
Yeah,
Pats player behind him. They put it.
very true. I thought nil
So
nil at half time was probably fair enough. I thought Derry had their little spells as well. I thought Duffy would look sharp on the left up against Scheiberg, if I'm honest with you. Second half, for me, complete massacre, to be honest with you. It finished 3-0. It could have been more. The early penalty in 46. Now, I think you thought it was a penalty. I'm not sure. I watched it again, JP, and, for me, Forrester plays the ball back to Scheiberg, who he messes it up, to be honest with you. All he had to do was hook it clear of his right foot. But for some reason, takes a touch with his left foot inside the Derry player. I think was it McMullen or Duffy? It might be McMullen, wasn't it? Was it McMullen? It
McMullen,
was McMullen. And
McMullen, yeah.
look, maybe it was a penalty, maybe it wasn't, but I don't really see where the foul was. But irrespective of that, Patchen goes on and
First him in the
misses.
back, I think.
Do you
I
think?
think it was
Yeah.
submitted.
But even apart from that,
What I will say
JP.
in that, what I will say in that is,
Mm,
in the first half, every time Michael Duffy ran at Schreiber, the only way he tried to stop him was with his two arms around him.
mm,
Now the referee let it go completely, but and there was a shout. I know you said it wasn't a penalty in the first half, but I think I've wiped it back,
mm,
and I think it was. I think Schreiber he pulls his arm round like that. They
mm,
they pull Duffy down, to stop him getting the ball. Um, and I think maybe at that stage, maybe did one of the officials have a word with Harvey,
mm.
just say it, and I think maybe Harvey's had enough, and
I did think he
he's pulled.
caused. Shelburne
He's
got out of
punished.
the
Yeah,
penalty
he's
shoot.
punished. I think Harvey's had enough, and he's just punished him at the first opportunity because
Mm.
after that, Scheuberg didn't. He, he didn't use his arms after that. They stopped any Derry players.
Yeah, and of course Derry missed that penalty on 46 minutes. It was a decent save by Anang, weakly taken by Patchen, if I'm
Her
honest with you. But
penalty. Her penalty.
I thought it was weak, but you would think though from a Pat's point of view at that point, because Derry did come out in the second half with a lot of energy, a lot of attitude, and press Pats actually. But you would think missed penalty, Pats would kind of go to themselves, look, they're after missing a penalty here. Let's go, lads. Let's get into them. But they didn't, and Derry just mauled them in that second half. They got the 3 goals I mentioned. They pressed up on Pats. Pats struggled to deal with the press. But from a Pats point of view, the thing that would have disappointed me was, even though Derry deserved credit for that second half performance, they gave up very easily. I thought they waved the white flag very early in that half. And from a Pat's point of view, I think that is disappointing. There's a way to lose football matches. I'm not saying they didn't try. I'm saying they gave up easily. Do you know that kind of way? You could see it in them. I thought Adam O'Reilly for Derry was unbelievable in the second half. I thought his press, he led by example in that second half. And I don't know if that was in him because he got sent off the other day and he was just in the back of his mind. I thought he was really, really good. And Derry deserved credit because they pressed
Yeah,
Pats and Pats struggled to deal with that press. 3-0, as I said, in the second half for Derry. Great win for them, particularly on the back of the Magpies result. And 3-0 probably flattered Pats by the end of the game.
I, I thought it was a very good performance from Derry, especially in the second half. I thought in the first half they allowed Forrester a lot of time on the ball. Um, when he got it, he was able to get his head up and pick passes. And not that whenever he picked the pass, he wasn't hurting Derry, but what he was doing is he was getting Pats up the pitch with it. In the second half, Derry pressed that straight away. He didn't get the time. That's where the penalty came from. Was he didn't get the time to do what he wanted to do, and he's give the ball away. He sold Schoberg short, and Derry won the penalty. And from that minute, Derry smelt blood. Now Patchen said a few weeks ago when he scored a penalty that um, Pat Hoban's waiting in the wings for him to miss one, and he's missed one now. So it'll be interesting to see
That's the first thing I
if
thought of,
the
by the
next
way,
one
when the penalty was missed.
if if Pat take if Pat takes it off him, because I think what he'd been doing this season is he'd been, a couple of years ago he went through a spell of missing 3 in a row or something like that, and it was that wee silly step up and slide. And I think what he'd been doing this year, been hitting him with a bit more power, but he just wasn't sure what Joseph Anang was doing, and Anang called his bluff and saved it. But at that point, you're thinking it's going to be one of those nights after Thursday. But to be fair to Derry, they absolutely harassed some Pats in the second half. 3-0 flattered Pats, to be honest with you. Could have been 4-5-6. Um, a great move for the opening goal. There's plenty of space down the right hand side. I don't know where Duffy got all the space from.
Mm.
And he actually, his header that he knocks, they put it out in front of him. He puts too much on it. He just probably too much on what he intended to get. But he does well to just help it back, and a brilliant finish from Danny Mullen. It's instinctive. That's what you can't teach that. He just flicked it, and Duffy ran away celebrating. He said afterwards he thought it was an OG, and even the stadium announcer gave it as Michael Duffy.
I agree
And
with you.
then
Just quickly on that, from a Pat's perspective, I was thinking he's after heading that far too far. How is he getting it again? Do you know what I mean? In the box. A
yeah,
defender needs to get out
yeah,
quicker there, don't they, in fairness?
yeah, yep. What I noticed, Keith, especially in the second half, was Redmond was starting to tire. Now I don't know if that's down to the injury that he's potentially carrying. Has he recovered from the last injury he's had? Um, and Gravosti's not long back either. So Derry kind of used that to their advantage. They targeted they targeted Schuberg. They definitely did, because even in the first half, all the attacking was coming down that side. And when he made that mistake in the second half and gave away the penalty, Derry just smelled blood. That's where the chance for the second goal came from as well, where it was pulled back to O'Reilly, and Gravosti's made a good block. Um, and straight from the corner, Doherty back post, Danny Mullen power header. Um, when you watch the replay, I think Anang gets something on it, but I think the power takes it past him. And then the third goal was a great bit of pressure from Paul McMullen, I think it was, or Patchen, one of the two. They won the ball back. Might have been McMullen won the ball back. Then O'Reilly played it into Duffy, slightly behind him, but Duffy does well to get it out of his feet and roll it past the nine. And from that minute forward, you knew the game was gone. You said I think before that, Pats had sort of give up a wee bit. Brian Maher had to make that save. Conley had to make the clearance at 0-0. Maher a few minutes later had to make the save.
Mm.
Second half, Brian Maher was a spectator. Mark Conley, Kieran Cole, Sam Todd had very little to do.
Mm.
I thought the system
As did
there.
Neil, Mulroney and Levy.
Yeah, I think the system Derry played yesterday, Keith, absolutely suited them. It was like a back three, midfield four, front three. With McMullen and Doherty playing as sort of the two wide men, and they
Mm.
dropped back when Derry lost possession. I thought that absolutely suited them. The T. It opened some pads up really well in the second half, especially the press. Got Ben Doherty closer to Michael Duffy as well.
The Pats found it
And
very hard to deal with the press, didn't they? It was like they were shocked
they
that they were
did.
getting
Oh,
pressed in a way.
shocked.
Yeah.
As I said in the first half, the press wasn't there, especially high up, because Forrester was able to pick the ball up in front of his own back four, and he wasn't pinging 40-yard passes. He was just firing them into midfield or playing them wide, getting them moving. The second half, he didn't get that chance, and it was a really good play by Derry to do that. Um, and I thought Derry, you'd have thought that St. Pat's was the team that had the 120 minutes in Thursday night, especially in that second half. The way I wouldn't even say they tired, they just didn't get going in the second half. And
Yeah. I do
maybe
think they
because
gave
the
up.
Derry have that game where Pats hadn't played a competitive game since I think the Thursday night game before. Who did they play
Waterford.
that night?
Waterford. Yeah.
They had. I
Waterford,
don't think Pats had played a competitive game up before that.
yeah, the
That was the
Waterford game at
first
the
competitive
RSC.
game
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
over a fortnight.
Yeah, it
Or
would
was
be.
it
Yeah.
10 days? Yeah. So that was what, nearly over a fortnight.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was disappointing for them. Maybe did that play a factor, but you can't take anything away from Derry. Derry absolutely deserved it. They knew after Thursday night that they had to respond, and boy, did they respond. And look, no, if they can play like that, like Derry's next game is Toka Park against Shelburne, and a big game in the title race. If Derry can go to Shelburne and play like that, there's no reason why they can't win.
True. Although Shelburne, we won't get into it. I'm sure Shelburne will make the game a bit harder than Pats did, in all honesty, JP.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely, no, agree to. Brilliant stuff from Derry. Lads, let us know what you think in the comments. We'll leave it there. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much for JP, as usual, for his contribution. And yeah, see you again.